If you're around my age and game on PC, then chances are that you grew up relishing in the Steam Summer Sale. And for those of you who maybe don't know, the Steam Summer Sale is one of the many sales actually that Steam puts out every, you guessed it, summer. They're kind of well known for being just this insane collection of deals that range from pretty good to insanely good in some cases. Now the Summer Sale for me was always just this huge source of excitement. I remember looking up the start dates, figuring out how much time I'd have to choose which games I was going to get this time around, and then, kind of frantically trying to actually load the client as millions of others also struggled to do exactly the same thing the minute the sale went live.
And here we go.
And as silly as this might sound, the Summer Sale was kind of a comfort to me. I truly felt a sense of bliss and familiarity when it finally rolled around each summer. The school was shutting down and I had 6 weeks of just unadulterated game time. Now, in its familiar way, that time of year has rolled around again, but it doesn't feel like it did before. It feels distant. So I guess today what I want to ask is,
Wow!
over the past couple of years, I've kind of noticed that the Steam Summer Sale, at least for me, doesn't really hold the same sort of magic that it used to. The sale still comes and it still goes, but unlike years past, I've not really been drawn in by anything. I've not felt that same rush that I used to. It doesn't feel quite so whimsical anymore. So I've done a bit of research, I've done some reflecting, some soul searching and some, Googling. And this is what I found. If you were playing PC games between 2008 and 2018, chances are you were using Steam to play those games. There were competitors, like games for Windows as a service, but that was incredibly short-lived. The first real competition for Steam didn't really come along until Epic launched their own client in December of 2018, the Epic Games Launcher, which I'm sure you all know and kind of despise to some degree.
Fuck you.
This means that for 10 years, Steam had a pretty firm hold on the PC gaming market, although that has all sorts of problematic connotations from what they could do and what they could get away with from a business standpoint. You can't deny that it made the summer sales feel very special. The fact that there was really only one place on PC where you could buy your games, that made the sale so much more precious, I guess. Like, this was your one shot to grab that game that you'd had your eye on for a while now. It's 33% off. It might not be this cheap again for a long time, who knows?
I just freak out!
And yes, I understand that what I'm describing is, textbook corporate manipulation. But I don't know, it was kind of exciting, right? I mean, to me, it was almost like going to a physical game store, right? That used to be a thrilling experience.
Am I here? For the PlayStation 2.
Going down to your local game if you're from the UK like me, or Game Station even, if anyone remembers that one. Browsing the shelves with your parents, you're torn between the new Ratchet & Clank, Assassin's Creed, the new Nintendo game. You're taking way too long to decide, you're teetering on the verge of an argument, and at that point leaving with nothing. Those decisions felt so important.
And T-Pain.
Cool.
Picking the right game was vital. You were working with money you'd saved from pocket money, birthday money, Christmas money. You spent weeks saving up for that, months even, and you could not leave that store without having something new to play. I rarely ever just browsed in game, normally if my parents took me there was a good chance I was buying something. Steam summer sales used to feel like that. That feeling is actually pretty scarce nowadays. I'd be lying if I said that was something I still did with the same level of passion today that I used to. Online shopping and kind of the accessibility of next day delivery has made those excruciating waits for trips to the game store kind of non-existent. And I think the Steam Summer Sale is in a very similar spot, because suddenly I don't have to wait for the summer sale every year. Now I have no less than 3 separate clients on my computer, and they're all holding sales all year long. And that's without even taking into account the abundance of third-party sites like Green Man Gaming. Those are constantly having sales. I don't think there's ever not a sale on Green Man Gaming. And they're usually cheaper than the sales being held by the clients themselves. And that's without even factoring in all the exclusivity deals now between all these clients. You know, some games you just can't get on Steam anymore. And what this means is that both the amount of money I'm saving and the amount of games that I'm actually interested in buying in the Steam Summer Sale has gone down quite a bit.
It was good, but not great.
Now, let's talk about that game catalog a little more. If I asked you to tell me your favorite indie game right now, you'd probably struggle, right? Indie games are so widely accessible and easy to play nowadays that you've likely played quite a lot of them. Stardew Valley, Overcooked, Hades, Cuphead, Hollow Knight, Celeste, Undertale, Shovel Knight, the list is endless. And some of those you'd struggle to even call indie games anymore just because of the reach they've had. I mean, you know, there's a reason I didn't put Minecraft or Five Nights at Freddy's even on that list. I feel they've gone beyond indie at this point. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact indie games are everywhere now. Engines are way easier and cheaper to work with than they were 10 years ago. And the indie craze, the games like Limbo and Fez and Braid kind of kickstarted, led to a rise in the indie console market. It's much more common nowadays to see a ton of games from independent studios releasing on console alongside PC. I mean, Nintendo has an entire showcase dedicated just to indie titles now. And this, I mean, from my experience anyway, it certainly wasn't the case back in 2014 to 2015. And I think this was another reason that the summer sale was so exciting. The sale would show so many of those little green money off tags that were just oh so alluring, and it was very easy to keep scrolling through all the different categories. And because of the low price points and the sheer amount of deals, I'd often stumble across a ton of indie games that I'd never seen on console or in the mainstream showcases at the time with things like E3, right?
My body is ready.
This was such an amazing feeling. When I think of Steam, I kind of automatically jump in my mind to that sort of like Source engine, slightly rough around the edges aesthetic, you know, the early Valve stuff. It makes sense, right? That is inherently, I think, very indie feeling to me. It made Steam, in my mind, a place where I could discover games I'd never seen before, and art projects and kind of, you know, more conceptual games that I'd never see on my PlayStation or my Xbox or wherever I was playing at the time. And again, I think I want to caveat this by saying that is a good thing, right? Like a really good thing. Like that boom in the indie console market just created more opportunities for indie developers. It created easier access to their games, more sales going their way. Developers and players alike both benefit from that easier exposure to the indie market.
That means exactly how it sounds, yo!
That was a big win for indie devs, at least in my opinion. So again, this is all good stuff.
I see this as an absolute win.
And then there were these weird little meta games. You guys remember those? The summer sale would kind of incorporate into the client every year a little mini game or competition that would be going on. It was always themed, and it would kind of make the summer sale feel like more of an event. And they don't really do that anymore. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's absolutely gorgeous pixel art that they opt for nowadays, and that's great, it really is. But do you remember the damn Grand Prix when Team Corgi just snatched victory, but even after it ended, people still weren't really sure if that was actually what happened, because the whole thing was so convoluted and poorly explained. And yeah, they were silly little gimmicks, and the games were, at the end of the day, just marketing ploys to encourage you to buy more stuff, right? But it was still fun, I think. And it was at this point, upon reflecting, that I realized quite an uncomfortable truth. The biggest change to the Steam summer sale wasn't the sale at all. It was what happened to me. Despite what it might have felt like growing up, the summer sale was always about one thing: making money. It was a store that was the only one in its neighborhood selling its product, and it was using that fact to generate artificial hype through limited time sales and gimmicky games that were usually completely broken and designed to push you into spending more money, usually for rewards that weren't really worth it. And it was always like that. It's just that as I've got older, I've taken on a more cynical worldview. I'm an adult now. That's kind of what it comes down to. I'm not going down to the game store to trade in my old games for Steam gift cards anymore, just so I have enough money to spend on the sale. I'm not overjoyed by the opportunity to get the game cheap anymore, because I'm an adult now with my own income and the freedom to buy the games that I really want when I want them. I don't relish in discovering a ton of new indie games to try anymore, because I've heard of a lot of them already through showcases and word of mouth on Twitter, and honestly I don't have the time for most of them anyway, so it's not an event to me anymore. It's just another sale trying to push me stuff that I don't really want, but that's okay, because the Steam Summer Sale does feel different now.
But now I want you to listen to something else. One of Mr. Butler's radio speeches.
It feels better. It may not matter as much to me anymore, but younger gamers growing up with the Steam Summer Sale now will benefit from a market that isn't dominated by a single entity. They will have more competitive, more frequent sales. They won't have to participate in marketing gimmicks that encourage them to spend more money to earn points. They won't have to wait until the last day of the sale in case the game they're waiting for gets an extra flash sale on top of the regular one. They won't have to scroll through a sea of green price tags to find hidden gems, because indie developers get a lot more exposure now and are so widely available on a range of different platforms. The Steam Summer Sale is better than it's ever been. Do I miss the feeling the Steam Summer Sale used to give me? Yeah, of course I do. It's a healthier marketplace with more opportunities for creators, that's more consumer friendly in the long run. Worth losing that? Absolutely.